Welcome to Stitches in Time, a podcast discussing Doctor Who the way it was meant to be watched, in chronological order, one clip at a time, starting at the Big Bang and ending with the heat death of the universe. I'm Becca, the Matrix Archivist, and I spent the last 12 years of my life meticulously editing the entire televised Doctor Who universe into chronological order.
And I'm Mandy. And I've actually made a point to stop trying to get men to follow directions. That's why they still haven't found my ex in the woods.
This is going to be unconventional for this podcast, but I'm actually not going to ask any follow-up questions about that. And also joining us, very special guest from the YouTube channel Council of Geeks, where she talks about Doctor Who and I guess other stuff, as if that matters. Please welcome to the podcast, Vera Wylde.
Yes, clearly anything else I talk about is highly superfluous and frivolous and not worth listening to at any point. Hi.
I'm kidding, of course. Your whole deal is very delightful. And we're talking today about the pirate planet, but just 40 seconds of from part one, where the first Romana takes over the control.
For Stitches in Time, this is the second Romana.
That is true.
This is the second one we've seen.
Yeah, but this is the first time we're seeing this Romana, which is exciting for me because I have a big old crush on her.
And it's really a segment of just a compilation of Mandy's favorite things. The Fourth Doctor gets bopped on the nose, and the Fourth Doctor being told he's wrong.
Something wrong?
No, nothing at all.
It's not even the nose, it's the tooth.
Oh, the tooth.
They had to add that because he'd actually chipped a tooth and they couldn't pause filming while he got that fixed. So they added in that little bit at the front end to cover the fact that he was going to have a chipped tooth for the whole story.
I didn't realize that. Because I watched, he has like a lip wound for like the whole story too. Is that real or is it?
That's 100% real. It's all the same thing. I think what it was, if I'm remembering correctly, he like went to pet a dog and the dog jumped up and like hit him right in the face.
Aww.
And it knocked his lip into his teeth so hard that it chipped a tooth and cut his lip.
Oh my gosh.
Now I feel bad for taking pleasure in his pain. I thought that it was fictional pain, in which case it was fine for me to enjoy it, but a real man was harmed.
Especially harmed in the most noble of pursuits of petting a dog.
Petting a dog.
Like the greatest thing you can do as a human being, I think.
I mean, that's how I want to die. And I mean, like the thing is though, it just speaks to the fact that the show was made on no money. It's like, oh, we could pause filming for a little bit and give you time to heal so it doesn't look as bad. No, we can't. No, we can't do that. No, we can't. Add a bit.
What they should have
done
going. Was have him trip over a rock and then go, oh, I sprained my ankle. I can't be here all week.
They should have just had the toy maker turn him invisible for this adventure, just for that.
I was going to say, that was a bit more of a Hartnell maneuver of like, oh, he's passed out for some reason for this episode. Oh,
rearrange his
darn.
face so he has to be played by a different actor.
Oh my gosh.
The jank of Doctor Who.
I was wondering that because I was like, either that's a real injury or like they were very good about like makeup continuity in terms of like putting that lip injury on him every day of filming.
It would have been a very strange bit to commit to that hard, given that it has no reason to be there, narratively speaking.
Yeah.
It is great in the context of where we are in Stitches in Time, because this is immediately after we have that short where the Fourth Doctor is like, someone is coming to cause me extreme harm, and then he immediately chips his tooth.
Yes. Last week we talked about the Dimensions in Time clip with Tom Baker standing in front of that green screen
I still haven't seen Dimensions in Time. I am afraid to.
Yeah, no, you're better off for not doing that to yourself, I think. It's not as bad as Doctors Assemble, but
I love this show, but oh.
I agree. I agree with your grunt.
Becca, I have a question for you because you have mentioned, and I've heard a lot of people mention that this is the preferred Romana. Now, this is my first time actually seeing. Generally, I've seen this Romana previously, but I've mostly seen the second Romana, and I have a big crush on the second Romana. Can you please sing the praises of the first Romana?
Well, I actually don't know what general fan feelings are about the Romanas in relation
I
to each other.
I do, if only because whenever I say that I'm mentioning the Romana and I clarify that it's the blonde one, people
Hmm.
don't they're like, "What are you talking about?" And be like, "She looks like a fairy goddess. What are you talking about?"
Here's the thing, that opinion has changed.
Really?
Because
Ah.
Romana 2 used to be the more beloved. Partially, I think, just because she was around a heck of a lot longer than Romana 1 was. And also probably not helped by the fact that, Mary Tam voluntarily stopped playing the part because it wasn't what she wanted it to be. She found herself being damseled way more than she had wanted to. It's the exact same reason that the actress who played Liz Shaw for the third Doctor left. Like, it wasn't supposed to be like this, and she was like, heck with it, and left.
Isn't that like a consistent thing? Because I know that there's a thing of like the actress who played Susan also left. Who's like, they hired me because I was a dancer and they never let me do anything.
Yeah. I mean, like, it's really frustrating because going through the history of the show, even the companions specifically designed to not do that would still have that done to them. Sarah Jane Smith, I honestly think, is the big one, because if you see her first ever appearance in The Time Warrior, like, she's self-sufficient, she's spunky, she has a ton of agency, and then you see her stuff later, especially when she's with Tom Baker. Oh gosh, she is damseled and screaming so much.
That is
But
very true.
anyway, to come back to Romana, I think the opinion started to pivot back the other way, partially because Mary Tam, who unfortunately is no longer with us, but she started doing Big Finish audio adventures with Tom Baker. And I think, not to the same degree, but I think a little bit like what happened with Colin Baker's Doctor, that led to a reassessment of her character and sort of gave her a boost. And so it has kind of flipped, because for a long time, if you were saying Romana, the default assumption was you meant the second one. And I think the other thing is, too, that something that was brushed off for a very long time was the romantic entanglement between Tom Baker and Lala Ward, which is something that I think audiences who weren't contemporary to when that was happening are probably, they find out that and go, ew. And that probably
that is
doesn't
certainly
help.
Mandy's experience.
Yeah, that's my general. That's why I like to see the Fourth Doctor. Not even though it is Tom Baker in real life, I still feel bad for taking joy in his pain. But also the idea that that man gets to kiss my beloved just flames on the side of my face.
Yeah, I think the nature of that relationship, just with our more current understanding of relationship dynamics and everything else, is just, it's a bit more frowned upon than it was, and that probably is also a contributing factor.
Yeah. I mean, for me personally, first of all, I gotta say, the first episode I ever saw of Doctor Who, well, I didn't become a fan until, like, the new series, but the first episode I ever saw was before it came back. A friend of mine threw the Ribose operation in, and I was like, oh, who is this beautiful angel who's, like, giving me all sorts of gender feelings all over the place. And it was, of course, the first Romana.
Which is so surprising because you have such Lala Ward vibes.
Because I'm a big fucking dork? Yeah.
No, because you're a beautiful blonde fairy
Thank you, Mandy.
who's going to lead me into a little fairy circle and steal my soul.
I mean, I'll rent it from you if that's cool. I don't have any bad vibes. But, like, I feel like aside from how physically attracted I am to either of these women, I feel like the main thing is that Romana 1, I feel like gets to do kind of the, hey, I'm actually a competent person that, like, Sarah Jane got to do at the beginning of her run, or Liz Shaw was doing, or, all of these kind of great companions were, like, extremely competent and demonstrated their value constantly, and were like, oh yeah, no, I can hold my own. And I really like that in a companion. That's why I like Clara a lot when she's with Capaldi. And I feel like Lala Ward is still competent, but she does get damseled a lot. And also I think that her, like, form of, like, showing how competent she is kind of runs into the Adric problem of, like, she's just kind of like an annoying know-it-all to me.
See, it's funny you say that, because I mean, granted, I haven't seen as much of Lala Ward's run, but I get that energy a bit more from Mary Tam, because she almost feels
Really?
designed to be the book smart one with no on the ground experience for the Doctor to take down a peg.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I get that a little bit. Like, again, this is kind of the only clip that I really have, so it is not fair to him, but it is kind of like, oh, your job here is to be the woman and to play that role of, like, I'm going to be the straight man, and kind of be like, oh, you did a silly thing. We have to follow the directions.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
I can
like
see that too.
it kind of impacts them both. It's just the energy is a little bit different to it. I mean, Lala Ward was a bit the way she played the character was, frankly, it seemed like Regeneration took the stick out of Romana's ass a little bit. So there's a different energy to it, but they both kind of had that going on.
Like,
Yeah.
Lala Ward gives me a lot of, like, manic pixie dream girl vibes
Oh yeah.
of just, like, being, like, very kind of flouncy and ephemeral. And
I mean, she's literally wearing a feminized version of Tom Baker's costume most of the time. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
It's this long coat, long scarf. It's just all pink.
'Cause girl.
Yes,
Yeah,
cuz girl.
and I gotta be honest, it works for me though. It works for me real good. And as someone who has had bangs for nearly 20 years, trying to get that Zoe Deschanel thing and doing the best I can, I can admit that it works for me.
That's as long as you can admit it, that's always the first step.
Mandy, this is actually an intervention.
I need to be less misogynistic.
No, actually, we're here to save you from your bangs.
That's the
Aw.
main thing, yeah.
I did. That's my one regret because I grew out my bangs for my wedding. So I was like, oh, I shouldn't have bangs for my wedding, and I hate it. I hate it. I miss my bangs.
Oh. They look good now. Are you gonna grow them out again?
Probably not. I just got a haircut yesterday, so they are off.
Oh.
This is great for an audio podcast. Hey, internet, check out how good my bangs are.
I would like to direct our podcast audience to our YouTube channel if you want to look at Mandy's bangs, which are going to be the entire focus of the rest of this episode.
It's just going to be me flat ironing them with the teeny tiny flat iron that I have.
Perfect.
I suppose the other thing I'll mention about this is this was, I think, the first fully credited episode written by Douglas Adams.
I believe so, yeah.
And like before I was a Doctor Who fan, I was a Douglas Adams fan. So like finding out that he wrote for this show after I like independently fallen in love with the show and then realizing that I was like, oh. Now, unfortunately, this isn't a scene that super shows off his stuff, but this story as a whole very much does. It's
Oh,
not
yeah.
it's not quite as Douglas Adams as City of Death is, but it's close.
Have
Yeah.
you gone back and reread or rewatched or just like taken in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy and discovered that it is very much Doctor Who fan fiction?
Oh yeah, big chunks of,
It is
especially the third one. Actually,
it is just, what if the companion hated this and didn't want to be here?
a lot of it's that, but also
what if Tegan was a man? That's what it is.
also the third book in the series, Life, the Universe, and Everything, was literally a Doctor Who pitch that was rejected.
Enemy of the show, Ben Paddon, told me that fact, and now I cannot watch Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. It's like, oh, this is just what if the companion didn't want to be there, but was really into Susan.
I'm sorry, you have me concerned. You said watch The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Please tell me not the movie.
I started with the movie, and I maintain, like, I saw the movie first. That was my introduction to it.
Okay, if you started there, I'll forgive it, I guess. But I would watch the janky ass BBC special before I would recommend anybody watch the movie.
I have watched, I have listened, I have read. I'm still gonna watch that movie. I will continue to watch that movie. That is the best short way to enjoy that, and you get good vibes. It is not the same as reading, but on its own as an experience, it was a wild time, and particularly as an introduction to like not really knowing British humor and that kind of being my introduction to it, of like, this is just a weird, like, okay, we're just gonna have some singing dolphins. This is delightful. I am a big proponent of that movie.
So I could go down a whole tangent on this, but I'll try and keep it short. I'll just say this: that movie made me hate Sam Rockwell for a while because of how badly he butchered my favorite character in the entire series.
I get that.
His Zaphod fucking sucks, and I hate it so much.
I think the best part of that movie is Alan Rickman as Marvin.
I don't know. I think the best part is Martin Freeman. He was perfectly cast and wasted, just
great.
like with the Hobbit movies. Absolutely perfect casting, bad movies.
I am a big fan of that movie. I like that movie. It is a good time. You cannot go in with the expectations that it's going to be the same as a miniseries.
It's not about it being the same. It's not about it being the same. It's been readapted every single time it's been done. I accept that it's not the same, but there's a difference between not the same and not even capturing the same essence of character.
Life, the Universe, and Everything has a scene that is basically directly lifted from William Hartnell's era. There's a moment where they appear in the middle of a cricket pitch on a sofa, and there's the whole like, the commentators are like, this isn't something that usually happens. I don't think this has happened in the history of the sport. And it's like very comedy like that. It's exactly the same thing that happened in I think it was like the Feast of Stephen or something in the Daleks' master plan, where they're just like running and the TARDIS shows up on a cricket pitch and they do that joke and then they just like keep going with the episode. And
Look at that. That third book just has a sofa serve as a temporary TARDIS.
Yeah, basically. To bring it back to the pirate planet, Douglas Adams is apparently like just super enamored with the idea of a big hollow planet that can do stuff inside of it, like build planets or take them away.
Yep. He also apparently has a thing with parrots, which is odd, because if you ever checked out Starship Titanic, either the book, which was actually written by Terry Jones, but it was still his idea, or the video game, there's rather prominently a parrot in that. And there is a robotic parrot in this, not in the scene we're in, but...
So what you're saying is that he wrote a story involving pirates just as an excuse to have a parrot. It's not about the pirates at all.
I think he might have. Honestly, I think he might have.
Oh my god. Incredible.
It was originally the Parrot Planet, and like the kids won't go for that one.
I read Starship Titanic, but it was a long time ago.
It's pretty good, actually. It's pretty decent. I mean, you can tell it wasn't written by Adams himself, but it does capture his voice pretty well.
That's great.
It's a little more focused than Adams himself usually is.
He does have sort of a literary ADHD thing going on.
I think that's common with like Adams, as well as it's a big reason why it's difficult for me to get into Pratchett novels. Is like I like them when I'm reading them, but it goes into such tangents that if I put it down and try to go back, it's like I don't know what you're talking about anymore.
I mean, I've always said that like they are equivalents in different genres.
Yeah.
The sci-fi version and the fantasy version of basically the same guy. Although Pratchett was way more disciplined as a writer. One of my favorite quotes from Douglas Adams was, "Oh, I love deadlines. I love the whizzing sound they make when they go past."
That's why there are a billion books in the Discworld series. Is that right? Is he up to that?
Roughly.
Yeah.
Rounding down.
Yeah.
Also, I think a difference of like, I think Adams is a little better at stakes, I feel, in the books of like, okay, something bad might actually happen. I have never read a Terry Pratchett novel and been like, oh no, what if something bad happens? Like, everything will be fine. He does not write in a very dramatic tension.
Well, I feel like that's a natural outcropping of making death a chill dude. Like, even if a character dies, you're like, okay, I know they're gonna be fine. They're gonna be taken care of. I know death. I know that guy. So like, it does kind of take the stakes out a little.
Discworld is just The Sims.
That's all fiction is. That's all writing is. That's just you.
It's just removing the ladder from the pool.
Yeah. Make these two kiss. Make them woohoo. Yay. I did it. That's all my writing, but
at the nudity mod. No, I had an ex who had a very heavily modded Sims 2, and it was something.
Oh dear.
Well, my experience with The Sims is always I will spend 4 hours making a version of myself, and then I'll put it in The Sims, and then I will never open it again for 3 years until my aesthetic has changed. It's like, well, I have to remake myself in The Sims now.
No, I could never get into The Sims. I need a goal. I need more direction than this.
And it's also like, I know that it has goals and you do stuff, but as soon as I knew about Rosebud, it was like, okay, well, I can have infinite money and get everything that I want in the first 3 hours of this game. So I'm going to spend all my time doing that and get everything I want. And oh no, now I have no reason to do anything.
Yeah. Money doesn't buy happiness, Mandy. That's the lesson there.
Yeah, which I think is why, like, everyone that I know that is very into The Sims, it is kind of just doing fetish speedruns. 100 baby challenge. I wonder who invented that.
Explore your breeding kink in The Sims.
I had not touched The Sims in like a couple decades, and then I got into it when I had COVID a couple years ago, and I had nothing else to do. And when you're making characters in The Sims, they actually do gender perfectly, because they're like, what are the Sims pronouns? Can this Sim get pregnant? Can the Sim get other people pregnant? Can the Sim use a urinal? And that's all the questions that you need.
It's
and you can
all independent.
Yeah, you can select
because, like,
all,
so many other
none,
ones. It's like,
any
oh,
of-
we
yeah.
have that, but you're like, this one thing is stuck to this other thing.
Oh,
Yeah.
sure, you can make whatever body you want in Cyberpunk, but the minute you pick a voice, that locks your gender. I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
Speaking as someone who has not and never intends to voice train, fucking excuse me?
Yeah. Same. I mean, I've done a little bit of voice training, but it's not like I'm not going to the extent that other people do because like, and I'm sure I'm going to talk about this a little bit in our next episode of the podcast, which we won't spoil for you, but it has to do with a trans feminine singer. And I've spent so long honing my beautiful bari tenor singing voice that I'm just like, not going back now.
I mean, like, the thing for me was I tried to get into voice training a little bit, but then I quickly realized like a combination of my ADHD brain, which like it is so hard like to make myself do something so often that it becomes automatic. Like that is almost impossible for me to do in the first place, especially when, and this was what I realized, I actually don't care that much.
That's honestly, that's like maybe the greatest discovery you can make about yourself.
Yeah. And that was the ultimate decider. I was like, I can keep trying this, but like, I don't actually give a shit. So why am I doing this anyway?
Yeah, that's kind of how I am. I actually kind of started identifying as non-binary, but like not in a way that I'm really that comfortable with any like they them or other I'm just like no, she her is good, but like I'm just on this side of she her where I'm like, yeah, I can still like talk like this and be real I don't know, it's just fun to play around. It's just fun to be silly doing voices. And that's like half of like, I think, and I was talking about this with our previous guest. Most of this podcast is me just doing celebrity impressions whenever a celebrity gets mentioned. And they're not good celebrity
Becca
impressions.
has actually, we've never had a guest on this show. Mandy doesn't exist. This is Becca right now.
Yeah, all that it's really frustrating though, because I have to like record individually and then like have to like ad lib with myself kind of, but then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna assign this topic to this character and this topic to this character.
I know what you're thinking, and it's like, oh, how does Becca do the video? Sims mods. This is all Sims mods.
Sims
Why do you think it came up?
It was the secret confession all along.
I gotta start working on like my I want to be able to say, oh, we're gonna have David Tennant on next week, but I'm still working on that accent, so it's it might be.
Yeah, it's really brave of you. Of like, oh, I'm gonna have special guests and do all these people you may not know in any way.
Yeah,
I think this is like the first time you're like branching out and getting big. But like, yeah, I'm gonna be a YouTuber this time.
So here's the question, though. The David Tennant that you're working on, are you doing David Tennant's doctor or David Tennant's actual accent? Because those are not the same thing.
True.
You're doing David Tennant in Bad Samaritan, his terrible American accent.
I still have not seen this, but I'm so excited for that to change.
Vera, do you know about Bad Samaritan?
I've seen clips. I've not seen the whole thing.
Yeah, Bad Samaritan, the movie where David Tennant wants to fuck a horse, but he doesn't want it to be gay, so he kidnaps women and makes them be horses.
Whew.
It is very much a Lifetime movie that only went to theaters because David Tennant is in it.
Huh.
My goodness.
Interesting. Amazing. I don't have anything else to talk about this 40-second clip of the pirate planet.
K9 is in it, but I don't think they even turn K9 on.
K9 gets more to do later in the story. K9 actually there is a battle between the robot dog and the robot parrot.
That is true. Yeah. It's a good
But
moment.
yeah,
Why
right
would
now,
they fight?
no.
They should kiss.
Mandy, because your brain edits kisses into everything you watch, I think they will kiss when you watch it.
Phenomenal. Great. I'm looking forward to it. I have not seen this parrot, and I probably won't for like 40 years because of the way this podcast works.
Yeah, we are currently in 6255 BC, which is, we're making progress. We're in 4-digit years, which is great news.
We have people, we have parrots apparently.
Mm-hmm.
This project is insane. You know that, right? Like you are aware. You've been told, yes?
No, you're the first guest who's brought this
Okay.
up. What do you mean?
Yeah.
I do, Becca. I have a question about the bit that we watched.
Mm.
Is it actually all one clip? Because there's like a kind of a cut in it
Yeah,
that
no,
made me think that it was maybe two separate things, or is
it
that
is
just
two
was that
separate
the edit in the
things.
show? Okay.
No, that's the weirdness of editing this sometimes. It's like the first part, like when he bangs his lip is like one clip, and then the bit where she's like,
Multi-loop stabilizer?
Look out, Kennard. Hold on.
this is another clip. But yeah, it's insane that I've done this. This is obviously a one of the random number generator dates that we got, which is honestly, it's been most of the previous episodes, and it's gonna be most of the next few episodes, because it's just not a lot of Doctor Who happens, and like people are like, oh, this is 5927 BC, because those clips are all like on alien planets, or like this one, just aboard the TARDIS where it's randomly stopped.
We have seen they're making an effort now with Stephen Moffat's Christmas special of made a point to put a date on every clip.
That was
So
really nice of him.
maybe they're going to make it a little easier for you.
I would like that. I do think that the only reason he did that was for the reveal at the end of the episode, though.
Well, yeah.
Well, he's also going to do a Jesus reveal at the end of anything that he writes, and is holding Russell T Davies hostage and goes, Jesus, the Lord Christ our Savior must be in the end episode of every episode of Doctor Who going forward. We have to know that Jesus exists in this timeline.
Oh my god. It's that River Song line of like, hate good wizards in stories because he always turns out to be them. I'm like, is he Jesus? I feel like I would be okay with that, but I don't know if anyone else. I don't know if the bigger British viewing audience would agree with me.
Which doctor do you think is Jesus?
Here's the kicker about the very end of that Christmas special, though. But I feel like I haven't heard anybody else bring up. It makes no sense because it is implied that the new star is the one that the wise men followed.
You're absolutely right.
It just barely got into the sky. They're already in Bethlehem. What the fuck were they following up to now?
Well, they had been lost for like 20 minutes, and they were only following it at the end. That's what the story doesn't mention.
Yeah, they were
just like,
we need to go to Bethlehem. I just don't know the specific street address that we need to go to.
Oh.
Gosh, there are like 12 inns here, and they all have stables. Where am I supposed to go?
They just start catcalling the streets. Son of God! Looking for the Son of God!
Do you think the inn that they that where Jesus was born, do you think they like hung a sign in their window after that happened and be like, Son of God was born here? Like, do you think they like monetized that?
Oh yeah, it's just like those convenience stores that put up like, oh, a winning lottery number was sold here on day. Exact same thing.
Yeah.
How many other people do you think had children in that one? Just kind of hoping that they get the next one.
Like that manger was practically turned into an obstetrics office. Like, have your kid here, maybe it'll start a religion. We have a proven track record.
We got this cow certified as a midwife.
You could stay in a bedroom for 3 gold coins, but for 10 gold coins, you could stay in the stable where Jesus was born.
We have not cleaned the hay.
That's holy placenta right there. Yeah. All right. I think before God strikes me down for blasphemy, I'm gonna wrap things up. Vera, where can people find you on the internet?
Oh God, here comes the list. Okay, so there's 2 main categories of stuff. For my geeky stuff, which yes, I do talk about Doctor Who regularly, but I also talk about Marvel and Star Wars and queer representation, etc., etc., etc. You can look for Council of Geeks. Patreon is what pays the bills, but Council of Geeks YouTube page is the primary thing that funds. There's also the Break Room of Geeks, my secondary channel, where you can hear me ramble on about whatever I have watched, played, read, or listened to lately. There's also Council of Geeks content currently available on Blue Sky, and I stream on Twitch Wednesdays and Fridays. That's the geeky stuff. If you prefer the spicy stuff, that you look for Vera Wylde. Wylde is spelled W-Y-L-D-E. And you will find content in increasing amounts of spice on TikTok, YouTube, Blue Sky, OnlyFans, many vids, and clips for sale.
Amazing.
Oh, damn it. And there's the thing I always forget. There's also a podcast that I do with Jesse Gender. And I always forget to plug this because normally I plug my stuff as the ending of that podcast. And so I don't think to plug that podcast.
That's so rehearsed.
Yeah, no, my shtick doesn't include that. Then we have finished our look at Babylon 5 with the Jumpgate podcast, and we will be leaping into our look at the Battlestar Galactica reboot, and it's the same feed, but it's going to be rebranded as the Frack This Podcast.
Fun. That sounds great.
Be good.
Thank you so much for joining us. I also have a plug, which is that because this is airing before my performance, if you are in the Pacific Northwest sort of general area, I am performing my award-winning solo show, Asexuality, the solo musical, at the Arcata Playhouse in Arcata, California, which is near Eureka, which is up north, I'm told, according to Google Maps. That's going to be Sunday, March 2nd at 7 p.m. I'll probably throw a ticket link in the notes of this episode, because that's the kind of thing that I do.
And you can find me nowhere because I am a figment of Becca's imagination.
Vera, are you really impressed with all of my voice training that I've been doing as my character Mandy?
Yes, it's very impressive.
I knew you'd say that because I am also doing your
I know. I don't voice train much, but I will still do the drop down, especially on TikTok, because I know I have some followers who it really gets them when I just drop it down to here and slow it down and just take on a tone that if you're a certain kind of person, you're probably feeling a lovely shiver down your spine right now.
This is I'll give you my ASMR voice.
I'll get you next time, Gadget. Next time.
Well played.
All right, bye everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to Stitches in Time. Music by Becca McGlynn. Art by Mandy Oquendo. Logo by Ben Paddon. Produced by Becca McGlynn and Ben Paddon. Did you know you can listen to this podcast with your eyeballs? Subscribe to us on YouTube. So, Mandy, you are ready with the first one, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Though I have 2 of them. If we're okay with me running the 2 of them, whichever one you like better, you can put in the...
All right, I'm down with that. All right.
Not so. I am perfectly capable of admitting when I'm wrong.
Oh!
Yes, only this time I wasn't.
And I'm Mandy, and I've built an entire career off doing the things a man could very easily do if he simply read the instructions.
Yeah.
But they don't, and I stay hired.
That's goodness. Yeah, that's like I feel like that's a boomer issue, like the old "can you rotate this PDF for me" kind of vibes.
I'm the only one who knows the secret to how to do that, and that's why they keep me employed.
It's sacred knowledge right there.
There was definitely something out there jamming our materialization field.
Oh, that's what it was.
Yes, that's what it was, yes.
I accept that it's not the same, but there's a difference between not the same and not even capturing the same essence of character.
I mean, I think
anyway,
even the
this has
BBC,
become a thing.
Yeah, no, I mean this podcast is like 80% tangents.
This podcast is me finding a reason to pick a fight with every guest on our show because I have the most unpopular opinions.
See, no, it's funny because that actually is usually my job when I'm guesting on something. I have gotten in more fights on more podcasts, and some of them even had me back again, which is so weird.
Perfect.
It fills time, which is the thing that we desperately need in a podcast like this.